Hello there, it's SharRon. I hope you can join me. I am the CEO and founder of the Jamison Group, and I wanted to stop in. I've gotten some great questions over the last, 24 hours about a sermon that I preached yesterday about this whole concept about paralysis. So if you can't see it now, I hope that you will be able to see it at a later date. But I wanted to talk about this whole concept of paralysis and what paralysis is and how does paralysis show up in our lives in a variety of ways. And hey, Sean, yesterday I talked about, preached a sermon about, for Mark, and I talked about paralysis. And just so we have a common working definition, when we talk about paralysis, we're talking about being incapable fully or wholly of movement, being incapable of movement. And so when we talk about being incapable of movement, yesterday I talked about a variety of ways that we are paralyzed in our lives. And oftentimes we are not aware that we are paralyzed because we think our bodies are moving, so we think everything is fine. But there are other ways that we're paralyzed, in other ways that impact the quality of our lives. So thanks so much. I see people joining me, Kevin and Sean and Karen. So I wanted to talk about very briefly a couple of ways that we are paralyzed and how it shows up in our lives. So one of the things that I want us to consider is that there is a such thing called emotional paralysis. That's when we have been through so much trauma, we have been terrorized by our past, and so as a result, we're no longer moving forward. We start to live in despair. We start to live in defeat. We start living in desperation because we have not in some way worked through that trauma, that we get stuck. We become immobilized. We become stagnant. And though that stagnant place, which is a very reckless place, or a place of lack of productivity and fulfillment, we get stuck. It's almost like we become a parked car because we have been in so much pain that we cannot move forward. We're not thriving. We're not happy. We are not in any place that we can advocate on our own behalf. We give away our power to people who don't deserve it. So when we start talking about emotional paralysis, a lot of us may be in that state and we don't know because dysfunction has become our norm. Pathology has become our norm, and we only become dysfunctional or pathological because we are doing our best to deal with our demons. We're doing our best to deal with all of these memories and these emotions. And so even though it looks crazy, our crazy becomes our normal. And so we want to look at our lives and ask ourselves, are we not moving forward? And are we living in a way that's not productive? We are living in a way where there's no fulfillment, and that is an indication that maybe there's some emotional paralysis happening. So that's one way that we experience paralysis in our lives. Another way we experience paralysis in our lives, I would say, is mental paralysis. That's when we stop thinking for ourselves. We stop reflecting, we stop asking questions, and we start really minimizing or limiting ourselves to what someone else tells us, because we don't do our own thinking. We just regurgitate what someone else says. When we start limiting our thoughts and we start thinking that traditions are the truth, and we don't question, we don't analyze, we stop having any type of curiosity about things, what happens is we just start to accept whatever somebody else says. We don't question the news, we don't question the media, we don't question traditions, we don't question thoughts that were passed down from generation to generation, because even though something is a tradition because we've been doing it for a long time, does not mean it's the truth. And so when we become so paralyzed that we stop doing our own thinking, our own reflecting, that we lose that spirit of curiosity, we become a slave to someone else's thoughts. We become a slave to the social media. We become a slave to the news. We forfeit our own dominion over our minds because we are stuck. And so and we get stuck when we stop asking questions, when we stop reading, when we stop expanding our minds and exposing ourselves to new people, new settings, new opportunities. So I think that's something to think about. Thanks for joining me, Kevin. And I can see who else is Sherry. We also become stagnant, are paralyzed in relationships, relational paralysis. That's when we are in relationships with people. They're not feeding us, but they're feeding off of us. It becomes a very parasitic relationship where we're giving, and we're not getting anything in return. It becomes a very opportunistic type of relationship. And sometimes we enter into those very parasitic type of relationships because we don't value ourselves, and so we just give ourselves away, and we become defeated, we become deflated, we become emotionally bankrupt because we are in these relationships where people are not feeding us. They need us, or they're feeding off of us, and as a result, we become depleted, we become empty, we become impotent, because we are giving the best of ourselves to other people. And we can do that by people pleasing. We can do that by hustling for applause and approval. We do that when we ask people for permission versus operating in a place of agency in our own lives. We do that when we start to look for our self-esteem in someone else's mouth, by compliments in somebody else's hand or in somebody else's bed. So we have to be very careful when we get into these relational paralysis, when we're in these relationships where they are really parked cars. We're not growing, we're not moving, we're not being challenged, we're not being changed, we're not being investigating who we are. When we think about it, our relationships are our laboratories. Our relationships are places where we should be able to learn more about ourselves and to try on different parts of our personalities and try on different parts of our talents and giftedness. But if you're in a relationship where there's paralysis, nothing is happening. You're just dying. And we get into those relationships when we are in relationships with insecure people, because insecure people are too insecure to allow you to grow. Insecure people are too insecure to allow you to expand. They want to incarcerate you, because if they can incarcerate you and imprison you by taking away your self-esteem or eroding how you feel about yourself, then they can control you. And I have to say that there are many people in these relationships that are paralyzing, and they are no longer growing, they're no longer self-actualizing, they're no longer loving themselves. And it happens so gradually. You don't realize you're powerless until you give all your power away. And then you wake up and you say, how did I get here? Believe me, it happened to me, it happened to the best of us. So that's another way to be paralyzed. We also could be paralyzed spiritually. That's when we stop going in our spirits and connecting with God, our higher power. I call God God, but people might call that higher power something else. We are always connected to a higher being. We didn't get here by ourselves. We can't do stuff by ourselves. There's always a force that is orchestrating our lives and orchestrating our experiences to make us our best self, so that we can develop to our highest version of ourselves. When we lose our connection to God, to universal, to a higher power, we lose a lot, because our power, that connection, is our intuition, that what we hear from God, or hear our voice, or hear our soul, hear our spirit, however you want to characterize it. Our connection to God is our inspiration. So if we're not connected to a higher power, our inspiration is our creativity, is our ability to see things, we lose our ability to have a vision for our lives, because our vision is inspirational, right? It affects our ability to dream deeply and to dream fully, to dream in color, to dream in 3D, so we can see things that only God can show us, and we can understand it, understand the complexity of it. We can only do that when we are spiritually open, when we are spiritually able to see and to observe and to receive. And we do that when we have a connection to God, connection to a higher power. When we pray or meditate, we have to understand that there is somebody higher than us, some entity, something bigger, bolder, more expansive than we are. And we are limited. And if we cannot tap into the Creator, we will not be creative. When we tap into something that's bigger than us, bigger than we are, that's when we're able to totally be fulfilled. That's when we're able to tap into our purpose. That's when we're able to sense our passion, purpose, inspiration, intuition is all connected to our spirituality. Visioning, dreaming is spirituality. So if we cut that part off, or if we become paralyzed, we start cutting off our life source, our inspiration source, that source that helps us soar. So that's really, really important. So we want to think about, are we paralyzed, meaning incapable of moving, incapable of growing? And if we are, that's something that we need to consider. Another way we can look at being paralyzed is politically. When you as a person or as a group start to accept crumbs, and you start to believe that crumbs are enough to satisfy you, we are in a bad situation. And I think sometimes when we look at Black America or any type of minority group, we are paralyzed because we're not moving forward. There's a lot of research that shows that as a Black community, every generation is losing ground economically, educationally, politically. And as we lose ground, we lose our power to impact and to influence change. Now, a lot of it we do ourselves when we don't become engaged or participate in the process. When we just try to go along to get along, we give up our agency, or we give up our ability to advocate. What we need to understand is that Jesus is connected to just us. Justice and Jesus are connected. Religion is really not just spiritual. Religion is political. Because anytime you have someone making decisions that impacts the quality of your life, that's political. And so that's why Jesus was killed. It was a political issue. Jesus was a revolutionary. And all of us, if we are in tune to who we are spiritually, we all are revolutionaries. We all are change agents. We all should be catalysts. We all are disruptors, because if you're light everywhere you go in darkness, you're disrupting something. And so when we think about who we really are, if we are connected with our spirituality, our wholeness, our power, we all have to participate in a political process. Because if you know who you are, you won't let yourself be incarcerated by political policies that are not fair. You will not let yourself be imprisoned by social norms or social constructs that emasculate you, that put you in bondage in a way that takes away your power, your vision, your voice, and most of all, your victory. So we're political creatures, because political awareness is part of spirituality and emotional strength, and also intellectual strength. Everything is interconnected. And anytime we try to divvy up our lives or compartmentalize our lives, you disempower who you are. We are multifaceted beings, and so we don't want to disempower ourselves. That's kind of like the arm kicking off the leg, or the body, or the leg getting kicked off the body. You need your emotional self, your spiritual self, your intellectual self, your relational self, your political self, to be powerful in the world. That means we got to vote, right? But if you're going to totally walk into your divinity, that means you have to vote, because your divinity won't allow you to accept second-class treatment. We got to be careful when we get to this place where we start accepting crumbs, and we try to convince ourselves that our crumbs are a full course meal. Crumbs and snacks are not full course meals. If we serve a God of abundance, that means that we should have, metaphorically, a buffet. And if there's and I don't get to have my buffet because I have some type of entity shrinking the quality of my life, are minimizing the quality of my life, are making my life myopic, or insular, or limited, I need to protest, not because it's a political issue, but because spiritually I am the head and not the tail. Now, if you really believe you're the head and not the tail, you are functioning like you're the head. And the head means that you're going to protest. You're going to be a catalyst. You're going to be a change agent. You're going to be a rule breaker. You're going to be a barrier breaker. You are not going to accept anything that denies you your full humanity and your full divinity, and anything that tries to subjugate you. Because you're a child of God, you're going to go down kicking and fighting. And that's why it's so important for us to understand ways that we become paralyzed. And we want to make sure that we challenge ourselves emotionally, spiritually, socially, relationally, politically, that we don't become incarcerated. Because once you become incarcerated, you become a prisoner to your own ways of thinking, or you become a prisoner to applause, or you become a prisoner to policies that fail to honor not only you, but the God in you. And anything that fails to honor the God in you is really breaking a divine law. The divine law says that you are amazing, that you are part of the Creator. And anytime we try to minimize who we are, to fit in any type of structure, any type of system, any type of policy, any type of tradition, any type of religion that fails to honor all of who you are, it is a bad policy. So I want to encourage you to look at your own life and ask yourself, are there ways and are there areas in your life where you are paralyzed? And if so, two things you need to do. One, you need to wake up and wake up and understand that there are ways that you are minimizing your own divinity. And also you need to remember why. Because we came to this world fully loaded. We came to this world unique. We came to this world fully equipped and fully empowered. And our life experiences are, and how we have interpreted our life experiences, have dismembered us, have dismembered our power, dismembered our mind, dismembered our spirit. So now we need to remember, meaning that go back and get all those parts of you that you have forgotten who you are. Go back and remember who you are. Because you have forgotten. Some people have taken things from you and taken parts of you. Go remember. Because remember, that means put all your parts back together again. Humpty Dumpty may have fell down, but Humpty Dumpty can be put back together again. But we have to wake up and have awakening of who we are, awakening of our strength, awakening of our divinity, awakening of our empowerment. And then we have to remember, meaning remember, put ourselves back together again and understand, here is the thing, that we cannot put ourselves back together in isolation. We need help. We are interdependent. I need you. I need Michelle. I need Minister Kevin. I need Sean. I need whoever is on the. I don't have my glasses on. I need whoever is on this broadcast. We need each other. We are interdependent, and when that means that being interdependent, I need you to help see me in my full capacity. And I need to help you see who you are in your full capacity. In the group, in the Dare to Start Higher group, I asked 4 questions. I think it's important for all of us to find 4 people and ask those people, what are you good at? Because some of us are good at stuff and we don't realize it. And that's why we feel unworthy. That's why we allow people to minimize us. That's why we don't celebrate who we are. Remember, you have to your celebration is your job. People won't celebrate when you're restored. They won't celebrate when you're elevated. And that's okay, because celebration is an inside job. So I want you to pause and think about, are you paralyzed? And if you are paralyzed, how are you going to wake yourself up? How are you going to remember yourself? How are you going to emotionally rehabilitate yourself? How are you going to spiritually rehabilitate yourself? How are you going to put yourself in spiritual, emotional, social, political, relational rehab to make yourself strong again? If you're not weak, you can make a different choice to be strong again. But just know you can't usually do that by yourself. None of us can. I cannot even think of where I would be had it not been for my coaches, my ministers, my sister circles. Everybody helped me throughout my own trauma, and I've been through a lot of trauma, but I didn't get healed by myself. So, and I want you to reach out. I tell people, reach out for people to help you reach up to God. Then after you reach up to God, after you reach decide to someone else, then you reach back and help people. Yesterday I talked about how the 4 men in Mark 2, they helped get this person to Jesus. Why? Because we all need help. We all are paralyzed. We all are the person in the mat. And so we all need help to transport ourselves to our highest good. And if you help me be transported, I help you be transported. But that can only happen if we wake up and we remember who we are, because we are a wonderful people who God is well pleased. So thanks so much for joining me. Again, I should have worn my glasses. I'm not going to ever wear my glasses because I'm too vain. Okay, can I just say that? I'm too vain. But thanks so much for joining me. And listen, if you have not signed up for Dare to Be Me, we start this Saturday, November the 3rd. And let's join in. Let's walk together, this journey together. Let's address our paralysis of our mind, body, spirit, financial. I didn't even talk about that because some of us are financially paralyzed. But however, our financial paralysis is based on our emotional, spiritual, relational paralysis anyway. Remember, everything is connected. Everything is interdependent. So thanks so much for joining me. I'm so grateful for all of you who join me. I'm so grateful for all of you who listen to me, because I cherish your time. I cherish your ear. I cherish your heart. And I cherish you. So thanks so much for joining me. Think about the class. If you starts November the 3rd. If not, think about joining the Dare to Soar Higher group. If not, I hope you will. But if not, just let's stay connected. Let's stay connected, because even if we can't help each other, I need you, and I guess you need me. We need each other on this journey of life. And if you have not voted, get to voting. Voting is not only a political issue; it's a spiritual issue to use your voice. It's an emotional issue to use your voice. It is a social issue to use your voice. It's a relational issue to use your voice. Remember, everything is connected, so I hope you would do that. Thanks again, everybody. Blessings to you, and have a wonderful, amazing evening. God bless you.